back to episode 4 of Dissent Into The Wormhole, where we discuss everything from ancient civilizations to modern day social issues and everything in between. I'm Les.
And I'm Stevie J. In today's episode, we're going to be diving deep into the topic of unconditional love. And what is unconditional love? So grab your coffee or set the cruise control and let's get right into it.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent.
I'm very excited to be having this conversation because I feel like this is one that is like a lot of people think they know what unconditional love is. And we should say, well, it could mean something different to everybody, but we're going to get right into all of those different topics, all the different angles of love, unconditional love, friendships, relationships, and how it all relates. So yeah, I'm really excited to get into this one.
Me too. And as you said, because we're not taught this stuff in school, I feel we're kind of left to our own devices and left to, learn from our parents and our teachers and society. And they probably don't have it right either.
I would say there's a 99% chance that no, they don't get it right.
They don't, yeah.
And I wanted to bring up too, and this is going to be probably, well, I'm sure it will be another episode, but just talking about previous humans throughout history. So looking 10,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, 70,000 years ago, and reading the book Sapiens is what I'm referring to. But in that, it talks about how skills were passed initially just from family to family, from tribe to tribe, less than 100 people. But in this society we live in today, there's so much information that it gets passed on in a governmental, usually, or societal format. And it's blasted out to everybody as that's what this is. That's what you need to believe. And this is how it is. So when it comes to all of those sort of spiritual things in a much smaller tribe of, say, 100 people, and it's passed on from generation to generation, they focused on a lot of those things. And even more so than, what you'd expect, that was the key and pivotal thing to teach was spirituality and love, and how to love the animals, how to love the plants, how to just appreciate your environment. And I feel like that has gone well by the wayside.
Absolutely. I think it was the tribe of Lemuria. They were the ones that just lived in perfect harmony and in pure unconditional love. And when they left, it kind of went with them. And and I just don't know. I'm curious to see, because we're both reading the book, the Sapiens, and I'm just curious to see if they're going to unfold it in a way to let us know where and when it all went wrong.
Right. Well, I feel like, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I feel like where we're at now with the agricultural age, the agricultural revolution, actually, it's almost somewhere around that point, maybe a little bit further back than that. But it's interesting that so far, it seems that the more ideas that are created, and when I say idea, what I mean is an ideal, a thought, something is made up and then believed by a group of people, then that becomes the norm, that becomes the rule, that becomes the law. So as that relates to love and unconditional love in the modern day era, it's like everybody looks to the media or to experts or to, whatever it might be. But it's something that our parents don't teach us, really, and schools don't teach us. There's no learning about that at all. And I guess on that, it'd probably be a good time, because I know you did some research. Thank you. A little bit of research into the word or the term unconditional love. So yeah, what does it mean?
Well, actually, what I think we should start with, what do we think, what is love in general? What is it?
Wow, that is a good question. And I think there's probably multiple answers. So to love, I guess what you would say is it's the love or the feelings between two people, right? It's the feelings that two people have between each other, which is a relationship.
Right.
And so for me, like saying what is love, it's actually, and it's going to sound like a bit of a cop-out, but I really like to quote the Matrix on this. And so I'm going to quote the Matrix on this.
You do that.
But for me, like, and we'll obviously break it down a little bit further, but for me, what love is an individual feeling that is specific to the person who's feeling it.
Right.
Because no one can tell you how you feel.
Right.
Right. Well, at least they shouldn't anyway.
Right.
But when it comes to the feeling of love, even yourself, you can't describe it.
No.
You don't have, there's no words that can accurately describe how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So the quote from the Matrix is, he's talking to the Oracle, and she's basically saying, Neo, this is how you know you're the one. You can't tell anybody you're the one. No one can tell you you're the one. You just know it, balls to bones. and so understanding that most people, or a lot of people, maybe 50% of the population, don't have balls, but you get the idea of it. Like, you just know it. It's something you just feel and and you can't describe.
Yes.
But what does society call love, and what do the majority of people call love? Because I actually feel like it's a term that's been very, very watered down. Yes. And it doesn't have a lot of meaning these days for most people.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. People throw it around to get things, to just seem like a nice person, to do whatever it may be. They throw it around. And I think for society, for a lot of people, love is a big ass diamond ring. Love is, you do whatever I say. Love is a house. It is the picket fence. It is the children. It is the massive wedding that, is going to cost you 5 years' salary combined.
Yep.
For one day. That I think that's what companies want us to think love is.
Yes.
Like De Beers like labeled it. They're like, we are the love company. If you don't love, like, and there's one commercial I remember years ago, and I don't even know if they're on anymore because I don't have cable, but it was for Jared. It's a jewelry store. And the entire thing was, he must love you because he went to Jared. Like, he loves you, so he went to this one specific jewelry store. Like, no. Like, if this is what we're basing our feelings on, no wonder our divorce rate is 50% or higher. No wonder, because we're labeling it all the wrong things. We really are.
I so agree with you. And it's so funny because that you mentioned the love company, because think about McDonald's. I'm loving it. Like, it seems like such a flippant thing to say, but they've used the word love in there. And I mean, let's see, as we're talking about companies, and it's a great point you bring up, because sadly, so much of what we see dictating society these days is the green stuff. It's money. So when you're talking about corporations and love, let's have a look at how much money is generated on Valentine's Day. And and now I want to ask you this about Valentine's Day. On Valentine's Day, do you feel so much more love for your partner on Valentine's Day? Like, is that
10 times more? And if I get flowers and diamonds, 100 times more.
Oh, okay. See, that's amazing. And I'm so glad that you feel that way, because what it does is it really makes sure that Valentine's Day continues, and that these corporations just get to make so much more money, which is such a blessing.
It really is. It's fantastic. It is fantastic. And every year I demand that I get more than I did the year before. Because how else are you going to prove to me that you love me? You got to prove it.
That's right. Exactly. You got to keep proving it. And and if you don't get all of that stuff, how are you going to feel good about yourself?
Oh, I can't.
How are you going to feel good about yourself internally if you don't get a shit ton of presents, like a mountain of presents? How are you going to feel good about yourself?
I can't, because all my friends are going to be judging me and my partner.
And I feel like the only action you could take, if you don't get a progressively escalating level of presents every Valentine's Day, is just kick someone to the curb. Oh,
absolutely. There is a bar that needs to be hit every year, and if you don't hit it, that's it. Out.
Well,
he's out.
People are actually like that. There are people out there, like, we are joking, and
we are kidding. Yeah.
But
Just
there
being
are people out
a-holes.
there, because that's how we roll. But there's people out there who are actually doing that.
Yes.
Who are actually sitting there. Now, I'm going to say this from a woman's perspective, so you can correct me anytime.
Okay.
But my experience, there's someone out there who is tapping their foot right now, looking at their watch going, or on Valentine's Day going, well, you think that's big enough?
Yeah.
You really think that's a big enough present for Valentine's Day, or a good enough present for Valentine's Day? Where's my ring? Oh, sorry, I cringe.
Yeah.
I cringe at that.
Well, that's the thing that they say, if you love me, you will marry me. What if that person doesn't want to get married? Like, and they demand it, especially on Valentine's Day. Like that's the biggest, that, and I believe Christmas and New Year's are the two or the three biggest engagement times of the year. Yep. And if they don't get it, like they demand the ring, and when they don't get it, they cause a fit. It's like, well, did you ask him if that's what you want, if that's what he wants, or did you just demand it? Because when we demand things in love, we tend to maybe not get what we wanted, or we may get it and then we will lose it very quickly after, because they realize, wait a minute, I was railroaded into this.
Yeah. And it's a good point that you bring up, because if that conversation comes up of, oh, I didn't get a ring, where's my ring? Like, you didn't give me that Mount Everest of presents this year.
Yeah.
And then there's a resentment there. Just this piece of resentment that builds up inside of, well, I didn't get what I wanted. I didn't get what I thought I should have gotten. And, he doesn't love me because he didn't do X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
When in reality, he probably does, or quite likely does, but doesn't need to give all those things, do all those things to show that. And what I feel like it's is really missed, and thank you corporations again, but love has turned into a materialistic thing. Like you said before, it's an equation of, if I get X, then that means love, that equals love. Like if I get a gift, if I get this, if someone does this for me, then that equals love.
Yeah.
And look, doing things for people, depending on what it is, of course, could be a sign of actual love. Like, it could be done through love, but adding all that materialistic stuff to it is, it's another corporate sham. And it's also misguiding people, I feel like, in general, in their everyday lives, and in that search that people have to find love. Because people, what I've sort of found is that people are actively seeking love, not always for the right reasons, or reasons that come from a positive place, just because they need to be compared to the neighbor, they need to be compared to their friend. Like, oh, my friend's got this love of their life, I need to have that too. And people saying, you've still got time, it's okay. You've still got time. But I would argue, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too, I would argue that so many people waste their time and waste years of their lives trying to change somebody into what they foresee as they see as their fantasy of what love is, rather than just recognizing that person they may be with right now is not compatible, and opening themselves up to the right person.
Nailed it. So because we're not taught what unconditional love is and how do we pick a partner from that space, and we'll get into that, but what we do as a society is, for some reason, we build up this idea in our head of the person that we want. And then we find the face and the body that matches this thing that we want, without ever correlating the two to say, okay, does this face and body match what I'm looking for in my list? Because it's okay to have a list. I think it's very healthy to have a list, because then what happens is you can say, okay, this is what I'm looking for, and this is how I want to feel when I'm with this person. Like, these are the qualities that they're going to have, and this is how I'm going to feel around them. And caveat, you got to make sure that you also have those qualities that you're looking for in your partner, because if you don't, it's not going to be sexy or attractive to that other person. Okay, that's my caveat. All right. So So we're not correlating. We're just assuming that we've seen the face and the body of, and we're like, okay, they're going to have all of these qualities. And we're shocked and appalled when we find out that they don't have any of the qualities that we forced upon them and said, these are the things you have. And then we force them, we try to force them to change. And the thing is, if they have no boundaries, and if they are not skilled at the power of saying no and knowing their self-worth, they will change and bend to whomever we want them to be.
Right.
But there will always be something that says, but they're a fake. They're a complete fake. Well, that's not them. Yeah. And it never will be them. And it's really hard to get people to forget the face and the body, go for the qualities and the emotions, but the caveat of make sure you also have those qualities in you, and how you're going to feel around them and how they're going to feel around you. You want to set up the whole scenario minus how they look, because how they look is how people get tripped up. That's how they miss out on their person or persons, because I do believe that there's more than one for everybody. Mm-hmm. That's how they miss out on them, because they're like, oh no, that's not her, or that's not him. It can't be. It's like, but you don't understand. Like, once you realize that that person is your list, their sexiness is going to go up 1,000-fold.
Right. And that's such a good point that you brought, like all of that. I absolutely agree. And I want to talk a little bit in a second about like the whole attraction thing. So like the sexiness thing. And I want to talk about that a little bit, but something you said there about, someone being molded or trying to be changed into something else. Yeah. And yes, they become a shell. So what they portray on the exterior is the things that their partner wants them to be. All right. So the partner over there is saying, oh, this is my fantasy. This is all the things that I wanted this person to be. I'm now going to change them into that. Right. So the person who's being changed is now going, okay, well, I'll do that to make sure that they're happy, to make sure this other person is happy. Yeah. But what happens is that shell occurs on the outside, and that persona is portrayed or projected to the person who wants it. Mm-hmm. But internally, the person inside that shell is feeling resentment, shame, low self-esteem, all of these things, because they are not themselves, and they're feeling ashamed that who they are themselves is not good enough for the person that they, and I do this in quotes, love. Yeah. Because the person that you love or that loves you should not make you feel that way. Right. You should not feel that. Right. And I think that's so sad. But like you said, everybody's set up for this. Yeah. What looks shiny? Does that look shiny? I'm going to go for that. And I've got this list. But the other thing too is, what order do people have? If there's a priority of those things on the list, what order do people have them in? I feel very much these days in society overall, it is good looks, good bank account, good, like popular, like all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And really, we're all such individuals. That's the thing. We shouldn't be lumped into any of these groups. So when you said that the sexiness goes up when you see all of those traits, emotional traits I'm talking about in the other person, then it's so much more sexy than the other stuff, the actual exterior things, all of those materialistic things. Yeah. Well, because we're taught that love is the house, the money, the diamond ring. Like, how many times I'll speak for me, because I'm a woman, but I can't tell you how many times my girlfriends have turned around. Like when everyone was getting engaged, everyone kind of got engaged at the same time. One guy kicked it off, and the rest kind of felt they had to follow suit. And that's why a lot of them are divorced at this point, because it was just, they were like, because the girls was like, well, I can't be like, when even though I'm still divorced, I was getting married when they were getting divorced.
Like I waited so long, and they always like laughed at me, said I was going to be the crazy cat lady. I'm like, well, we still have a shot at that title. We still have a shot at that title. But because we're taught, but they would say, people would look at the ring and say, oh, he must really love you because it's a huge rock.
Oh,
he must really love you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that from a guy's perspective too, there is absolutely that whole thing of you need to spend this much of your salary on that. And you are less of a man if you don't spend this much on a ring.
Wow.
And it's like, but hang on a minute. That doesn't, it's a complete non sequitur. None of it, one doesn't inform the other. You just,
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're so welcome. So welcome. But to say that that is your worth, basically.
Right.
That right there, from a female's perspective, the girls look at the ring and go, oh, well, that's your worth, according to him.
Yeah.
And the guys look at the ring and go, oh, that's how much of a man you are.
Yeah.
Because you could afford X amount.
Yeah.
And I tell you, for me, rings, no difference.
No.
Piece of paper, no difference.
No.
Not a single change. And so it's like, why do we put so much emphasis on all this stuff that doesn't even matter and doesn't make any relationship any better, in my opinion?
Society has told us, who made up that quote unquote rule of the 3-month salary for the engagement ring? Who made up that rule? Oh, De Beers did. De Beers did. Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the rule that dudes are going by. Gentlemen, stop it. And ladies, it's fine. Like, it doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't.
I would say focus on how you feel.
Yes.
Not focus on what you get. Focus on how you feel, right? Like, if you feel good around somebody and you feel good all the time and there's never any negativity, like, it's and not that things won't come up, because life is life, but if in general you have a positive feel around somebody, focus on that. Don't focus on the ring. Don't focus on the stuff. Don't worry about the house. Don't worry about the kids and all of those other things that society literally says you need to have.
Right.
It's like how long have you been together now? Oh, okay, it's been 2 years. Well, gosh, when are you getting married? Like, well, why aren't you doing that? And that assumption is so dangerous, I feel, because marriage then becomes a legal involvement, a legal relationship as well.
Yes.
And not that I've got anything wrong with people who want to do that. And, my little caveat is, if all of these things that people are doing out there, it feels right to them and it feels 100% good, fine.
Do it.
But that's the key thing here, is that a lot of people don't feel good.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that there is a lot of men out there, and from a guy's perspective, there is a lot of men out there who are being told by their wives that they need to do this, and this, or they won't get any love, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
So no bedroom fun, no swinging from the chandeliers, unless they do X, Y, and Z. And to me, like, that is such a destructive conversation to have, or thought to have, even, because what somebody does in a relationship, in terms of, it could be a task, it could be a chore. Like, if you do these chores, then we can get down a boogie, right? But how is that conversation helpful in any way? Because all it does is set up a transactional relationship.
Well, that's just it. A lot of people are living off transactional relationships, and that's not love at all. That's, if you don't, because a lot of people, they treat their relationship like it's their own personal, I don't know, bingo card game, that if they get everything, if they get all the right numbers, they'll get the ruckus that night. Like, but it shouldn't be like that. You should want to do things for your partner because you want to do them. And of course, if you're living together, there's the household chores and blah, blah, blah. But if you're working in unison, and if you're working as a team, then those things shouldn't be made into threats. Your relationship love should never be a threat. Ever. It should never be a threat. For it to be taken away at any moment. Because a lot of people are living in that moment that if I don't do this right thing, they're going to take their love away from me. That's not love. Yep. That's not unconditional love. But yet they're told by their partner, I love you unconditionally. But if you do I'm out the door. It's like, well, exactly. That's not like, that doesn't make any sense, because you just said you love me unconditionally. And that's not what that means.
Right. Absolutely. And it's so true what you said there, because love, and we will talk about an unconditional sense, mm-hmm. but love is wanting that other person to be happy.
Right.
That's like, you can't describe it. And I said that before, you just know it balls to bones, right? Yeah. That's how you feel. But in that feeling, you only want happiness and joy mm-hmm. for mm-hmm. the other person. And that doesn't necessarily matter what happens for you. Like it might not be that, I get anything. I don't mm-hmm. actually, necessarily want anything, mm-hmm. but I want the other person to feel joy, feel happiness, no matter what is going on. Because when you add in those other things, like, I want that for you. Yes. Oh, I love you unconditionally, as long as mm-hmm. you do this, mm-hmm. that, and the other thing. Well, then comes in, and a lot of people don't actually even realize this, but deep down, there's a resentment there, and all of these issues build up inside of, like, am I not enough just being myself? Am I not enough just being me? And then when it becomes transactional as well, what else comes out then? Well, you get out the tally board, don't you, in the relationship, and you put the tally board on the wall and go, well, this time I did this mm-hmm. and you did that. And what kind of a relationship really is that? It's not a good one. And, you talked about bringing the ruckus in the bedroom, and that, well, who actually feels like that? When you don't feel that love from the other person, you don't feel it yourself. You don't actually want to, get in the bedroom and start swinging around like you. And that whole discussion about, transactions and sexiness and all that kind of stuff. Well, when the sex becomes transactional as mm-hmm. well, that's not love. Mm-mm. That's just a physical act that's happening. Yeah, that's not love. And the physical act itself should be, in my opinion, a very intimate and loving experience, mm-hmm. not a transactional one.
Right. Yes.
But it gets used very often. Very, very often.
Yes, I'm sure as we speak right now is happening at least 1,000 times. And I'm being very, very, that's a low bar. Yeah, that's a very low bar number as we speak. Because but the thing is, these are the things we're taught from watching our parents, learning from our parents, or, grandparents, teachers, whomever, society. This is how we're taught to have relationships. And because we don't necessarily love ourselves, they say 80 to 95% of us weren't raised in a loving, like a suitably loving, nurturing home that we could actually grow and learn to love ourselves and have self-esteem. Like, it's a very low number of people who were actually brought into a family, like brought up in a family like that.
Yeah.
So we're all carrying around the wounds of our own wounds of our parents, their parents. Like it's a generational, and go back as far as you can go. And that's how many wounds we're carrying, because we're not taught, and because we're not taught in school and we're not taught in society. It's just one of these things. It's the most fundamental thing. Love is the most important thing ever. There's nothing beats it. Yet we were not taught how to do it, which is the most ridiculous. We learn how to, I don't know. We learn history. We learn geography. We learn math. I learned algebra for 2 years. I don't know any of it. I learned French for 10 years. I know none of it. Like all of these things, but it's the fundamentals that we use on a regular basis, on a daily basis, moment to moment, because we're dealing with people all the time. This is where we effed up big time, because that's what would help us ascend to a more loving, accepting group of people. We would love unconditionally. We would. It is possible.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And it's so true, because you spend like 12, 13 years going through a school system. And, look at us both now. We don't remember a damn thing.
No.
And so
waste of time.
That's right. Would it have been more, more beneficial to teach us the algebra, the French, all the other rubbish that we learned? Or would it have been more beneficial to teach us about relationships, about love, about actually just love for other people, everybody, and ourselves? Then we could actually, because when you think about it, you leave school, and sure, some people might go on to a career where they do use some of what they learned at school.
Right.
But for a lot of people, they go out into society, and the only thing that is a constant in life is that you're interacting with other people.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah.
You're not always doing algebra. I mean, I really got obsessed with it.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I really was obsessed with it for a while. I just had to do at least 40 equations a day. Otherwise, I just couldn't breathe. But
Poindexter over here.
Poindexter. Thank you. I don't even know what algebra is. So that gives you an idea. But it's like we spent all this time doing that, but somebody could have spent time with us, giving us some coaching on relationships and the world and how to interact with people, because that's something that is a constant.
Yeah.
I definitely don't do the 40 algebra equations a day, but I do interact with people multiple times a day.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be somebody in a romantic relationship or even a friendship, just people out in the world.
Yeah.
We don't know how to interact anymore. And, going into talking about people themselves, it's so true. And having that experience of, I guess you would say, waking up in a sense, like waking up to realize that who you are is okay.
Yes.
And feeling your heart actually open is one of the most amazing things I can't describe. I actually can't describe. But having that feeling, it makes you, and it allows you not only to be open to love coming in, but it allows you to share out more love with more people.
Yes.
And I feel in more of an unconditional sense, because you're not attached to what they can do for you or what they're not going to do for you. It doesn't matter if you get a similar response from them.
Right.
It doesn't matter what they do, but what feels good is being able to share that love out and be able to send it out into the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. And to be able to, because once we cultivate that love for ourselves and understand that we're perfect just the way we are, we're fine, we're flawed and fine, it's good, then that vibration of our self-love actually ripples out from the heart, because the heart has its own magnetic force field. So people can feel that. So they actually feel they feel better when they're around you, and they'll like gravitate to you because they know that they are loved no matter what they do. Because what happens with unconditional love, it's separating the actual human from the programming. So, because I find that a lot of people say, I can't love unconditionally because this person is a horrible human being, and fill in the blank. Like, well, I'm not telling you to hang out with them. That's not what I'm doing. Like, we're not hanging out with everybody. We're not inviting everyone to sit at our table. We're not giving passes where they've done some really horrible things to us. We're not doing that. We're separating the human from the programming, because their behavior is programming, and it's up to them if they want to change it. It's not up to us if we want to change them. We can prefer that they do something else. We can prefer that they, behave in a different way, but we can't change it. So we say, okay, I would prefer different behavior, but I still love you at the core as a human being, sharing the space on planet Earth with me in this moment. That's it. That is unconditional love. That's it.
Yep.
And you can love them from the nosebleed section. You can love them from across, you can put them as far away as possible. It's our life. It's up to us where people go within our lives. And that's what other people don't realize, is that it's not up to me where I fit into other people. It's up to them where I fit. And people start demanding things. And then they say, well, and like, we're just we're very angry with each other, and we're very demanding of each other. And it's horrible. Yeah. It really is to watch people and how they treat each other. Oh, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so much to do with that expectation. Like you said, like people are afraid of responses that they might get from somebody in a situation. Yeah. And I absolutely resonate with what you said about the heart vibration and sending that energy out there, that field out there, because I've seen it. Like I've actually seen it. And so like for me, I used to have some negativity around, and I used to feel some negative things and have negative thoughts. And it was, I had resentment built up and all these kind of things. Everybody's got issues, right? But I was carrying that around with me. And so I was very closed off to the universe, I would say, and to people in general. And so I would have a tendency to lash out at people, or not lash out, that's probably the wrong word, but I would be closed off. So I wouldn't be particularly nice in a situation. Right. I wouldn't be particularly mean, but I wouldn't be particularly nice. But after realizing that and having that realization that I'm okay being me, and it's okay to be who I am. And instead of feeling closed off and then opening up, I've actually seen that change happen with just people randomly out. It doesn't have to be, like I said, a relationship, but for example, just the person at the coffee shop. When I approach the thing, they're just more open to me. And then of course I'm open. And so where I would not have had, say, a real conversation with that person before, I now have that real conversation. And I actually genuinely do care. Like I'll ask them, I don't have to take it with me. I don't have to take it home from the coffee shop with me. But in that moment, I do care what they say. Like I ask them, how are you doing in the lockdowns? How's life? Are you going okay? And the response from people, and like you said, that energy that they have and that they obviously feel from that is amazing. It's really amazing to see. So, but people get so closed off and searching for all of those things and things that they want from somebody or from something. And when they don't get it, they get upset about it, get angry about it, and all of those things. Yeah. But it's also, an interesting, we've been watching that David Icke series on escaping the Matrix, and we'll get into that another time.
It's a whole different bag of kittens.
And there's a whole other barrel of fish there that will crack open. But in that, he talks about the heart and the vibration of the heart. And it's interesting that one of the things that he says is, we intuitively know. Somebody says, trust your heart, right? Or when somebody wants to say they're telling the truth, they say, hand on heart, I say this, right? So there's a natural connection there with our hearts. But what our head does is it tries to get in the way and confuse what we feel. Right. Because our heart is that essence of love. Like you said, there's nothing more important. And when there's love, and when our hearts are trusted and our intuition's trusted, it's right. Yeah. But our heads confuse it. Our heads say, and immediately, and I wanted to ask you this: have you ever had it where you feel something in your gut, you feel it in your heart, and your head immediately starts giving you all the reasons why that isn't possible, that's not right, that can't happen?
Oh, of course. My negative Nancy comes roaring right in, trying to screw everything up, and then I got to shut her down. And
can we get an APB out on Nancy, please? she's been negative.
So true. Yes.
And mine's a negative Nick, just so you know.
He's a reader, isn't he?
He is. He's a very learned individual. Also quite casual and good at serving hors d'oeuvres.
I love it. I love it. Well, we just need to keep his tone down the negativity. But that's what our brains do, because our brains are conditioned by society and our friends and our families. And if you listen to the voices in your head, they're usually not your voice, especially the negative ones. The ones that are telling you can't do something, that you're not good enough, like, who do you think you are? It's not your voice.
Right. It's Nancy and Nick.
It's Nancy and Nick in there having a go. But like the kind, loving voice will always be yours. It will always be your voice, and it will always be a softer voice, and it will always just feel really, really good because it's your voice.
And you're so right. And just quickly before I forget, sorry, I wanted to mention another book that we read, and to let the people out there know that this is a good way to look at it, and it really helped me. So Untethered Soul is a great book as well.
Great book.
And in that it mentions this fantastic analogy that, imagine that voice in your head that you hear all day, every day, telling you, you suck at this, you suck at that, you'll never do this, you'll never do that, trying to figure out if Susie likes you or whatever. Now, if you imagine that, right, take it out of your head and just imagine that that's a person sitting on the couch next to you as a roommate. It's your roommate. And then imagine them saying all of those things that they're saying.
Yeah.
And would you still ask yourself, would you still stick around and have that conversation? And I bet you 9 times out of 10, everyone out there would say, hell no. That person is crazy. They need to be locked up. I am not talking to them ever again. But that person lives, that voice, like you said, lives in our heads every day. Yeah. And it's taken over, because we haven't had those teachings. It's taken over from our hearts and our intuition and what we and trusting what we feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it talks us out, like, it can talk us out of a really good thing. It can talk us out of a really great relationship, because it'll say, well, they don't look like what my friends would accept, or it doesn't, it doesn't look like what my family will accept, or whatever it may be. Like, you're really just, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face when you're judging people by what level and degree of love you're going to give them based on that voice in your head.
Exactly.
You're missing out on a lot of great, great people. You really are.
Absolutely. And, all of those people, those looking for, let's say it's the 666 for guys, right?
Yeah. The trifecta of sixes.
The trifecta of sixes for guys. And for, as a guy looking for girls, it's, whatever that is, whether it's the looks as well, it definitely is. I know a lot of guys are very much into the looks. But what people tend to do is, I feel, is they're looking at all of these things and all of these people that have those attributes. But those people that they have in their mind with all of those attributes are generally under 5% of the population.
Right.
Like they make up 5% or less of the population.
Yeah.
And so they're trying so hard to get this ideal fantasy of a person that they want, that, like you said, they miss the other 95% of people out there.
Yeah.
And let's be fair, like a good portion of them are probably going to be dicks, and you're not going to want to have anything to do with them. That's fine.
Right.
But you're missing a massive, massive proportion of great people. They may not be tall enough. They may not have 6-figure bank account. Look, they may barely make ends meet each week, but they could be the great person. And when I say this, I absolutely mean it. Not just a great person in general, the great person for you. Like,
that's right.
The right person for you. Because who's right for me is probably not right for somebody else.
Right.
Definitely probably not right for somebody else.
Right.
And it's one of those things that about being open, I think, like you said before, being open to people. And when you are open, then the right person can come in. And
yeah.
Yeah.
And when we're not judging and we're not basing our relationships on demands, like if you love me, you do this. And if you don't do this, I'm going to stop loving you immediately. Like, so when we can love unconditionally, that means we love everyone equally. Everyone equally. It doesn't matter because we're separating the human from the programming. So we're just loving the this soul in a vessel, like sharing earth with us, everyone's just having an experience. So if we can love everybody the same, how do we get into relationships? Like, how do we pick a partner because love is now out of the equation? Because look at that, I love everybody.
It's such a good question.
Yeah. And just an FYI, guys, I do not love everybody. I'm working on it. It's something that is my mission in this lifetime, is to get to a point where I can see and love everybody equally. Just having a hard time getting there. But that's my mission. That's my mission in this life, to love everyone equally. So when you love everyone equally, when you're able to do that, because here's the caveat, you love yourself, flaws and all, you love yourself. So that means, because we can only love other people to the extent that we love ourselves. And that's why people get into relationships and they're automatically toxic. Like from day one, they're toxic because they're like, oh, we're dating now. You can't do this and you can't do that. And it's all to keep, because that has me feel safe. All of these rules I'm giving you makes me feel safe and secure in this relationship. Meanwhile, if I love myself and I was confident in myself, I would feel confident just watching you do your thing.
Yep.
I would be 100% confident just being in that relationship. But a lot of people aren't, and you can see it. You see it from a mile away, but because that's what they're used to. So they get in and they're it's horrible to watch them do. They're,
you're so right, and it is horrible. It's horrible to feel that too, like to have all of those boundaries put in place and all of those, and I'm going to answer your question actually in a second about if there is unconditional love and we love unconditionally, how do we find that special? How do we find that special person? I'm going to answer that, but when you talk about those boundaries and all of those sorts of things, to me, and this is, of course, just my opinion, but the way I see it, if you actually, if you really unconditionally love someone, and we'll talk about it in a relationship sense, you should want them to be going as far as they can in every endeavor that they want to go in, in any direction that they want to go in. And it means not holding them back in any way. And so, but what's really key is you want to be on that journey with them. And they want to be on your journey as well. And so to answer your question about how do we find that special person, if we just love everything unconditionally, like if I love this battery as much as I love everything else, how do I find the special person?
How do you find the perfect battery?
Well, it's definitely a bigger one than that. Size matters. But no, what I would say is this, is if two people love unconditionally, right, and love everything and everyone unconditionally, the way that you find that, or how you find that special person, is through that openness, being open, and also being able to recognize that you are compatible, and that you enjoy each other's company, and that you want to go on a journey together. So that is, to me, how you find a relationship out of all unconditional love and loving everything and everyone the same. Feeling that extra attention for someone, or wanting to give someone that extra attention, to me, is about both people being open, both people feeling compatible and wanting to share a journey, which is life, together.
And I think you nailed it. I think that's it, because, and you do, like, why wouldn't one want their partner to succeed? And why wouldn't they be their biggest cheerleader? It's crazy to me. But I've also been in situations where my partner definitely didn't want me to succeed and like sabotaged me at any chance he got. So I just couldn't understand that. But anyway, that's a
Well,
thing
no,
for
I mean,
another time. But why wouldn't you want your partner to succeed? Why wouldn't you want to go on that journey unless you just don't see that that's what relationships are? I don't know. I
well,
want my partner to be happy. And if that means pursuing every one of his whatever he's got in his head that what going on, fine. I will support it. I don't care how silly it seems to me. I will support him to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel the same. Like and it comes back to, actually, I feel that the answer to your question is why do, when you said, why do people want to hold back and restrict the person that they should be the biggest cheerleader for? And it comes back to selfishness. And I think the selfishness comes from fear, because to say to somebody, like, if I, if my partner says to me, if she says to me, I feel like going rock climbing tomorrow, and I feel like I want to do it every day, actually, for the next 6 weeks, because that's just something I feel like I want to do. If I say, here's all the reasons why you can't do it,
right,
then why? Like, where is that coming from? What good reason could I have truly to say you shouldn't or you can't do that?
Because you don't want her to go to this place without you, where potentially buff dudes are going to be, and potentially guys who are going to treat her better than you do.
Right, exactly. So I'm insecure.
It's fear-based.
I'm insecure in myself that I'm not good enough. Me, just as me, is not worthy enough for you to want to stay faithful to, and not get interested in those buffs. But that's just it. Like, I would never do that. I wouldn't. To me, that feels so wrong to even think that. And the other thing too, I want to bring up with that great point about the buff chads out there that are climbing the wall is,
and your wife, apparently. Sorry.
Well, this is the thing though. Like you mentioned before, I've had that before in previous relationship, of being told you can't do this, don't do that, this is stupid, like this idea is stupid, don't do that, and all this. And it really doesn't, it breeds nothing but negativity.
Right.
And the thing is, we can't control other people. We think we can, but we really can't.
We try to,
because
very
right,
very,
exactly.
Yeah, we try.
And by the way, there's a Mount Everest size level of presence on its way. So that's my attempt at control. But we try, but really deep down inside, we cannot control another person.
Right.
And so we can't also control what happens when our partner goes out into the world, whether it's going to a club, a bar, rock climbing with a bunch of buff dudes. Whether our partner's going to cheat or going to give attention to those people or whatever, we can't control that. It's going to happen if it's going to happen.
Right.
And there's nothing we can do about it. But what I do often find is, if we try to prevent it in the beginning by saying, here's a boundary, don't do this, don't do that, then inevitably it may not be today, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because we've now given that person a boundary. They don't feel good about it. They want to break free from that. And so they do. But if we...
Sorry, I just put a pin in that, because what you've essentially done is you've said, I don't trust you, before she's even proven the fact that she's untrustworthy.
Right.
You've made her the bad person in all of this by saying, you can't do this because I'm insecure. And that's why you're trying so hard to hang on to this relationship that it's just going to fall apart. It's going to fall apart, and it's going to be an epic failure of a relationship. And then where are you? You're right back to square one. So you might as well love yourself and find someone who's you're really compatible with. Unpin.
Thank you for the pin. I appreciated the pin.
No problem.
Because I would have forgotten what I was going to say. But no, you're right though. Like, great point, because with that, you find that if you actually just love yourself, like you said, love the other person, and allow them to be, just to be. And you know what, if you do find that person you're compatible with, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what they do.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, even if you don't enjoy everything together, like, you know, maybe I don't like rock climbing. That's fine. But you go do it, have the best time. And when you come back, we can enjoy each other's company again.
That's right.
And feel happy that the other person's happy.
Yeah.
So when we can do that, what you do, I feel like, is energetically, you instill that in the other person, or the other person feels that. And so when they're out with the chads on the rock climbing wall, they go, these guys have got nothing on my dude.
That's
like,
right. That's right.
That's the feeling you have. Or, you know, in the reverse, like, you know, say these chicks, they got nothing on my girl. Like, that's the feeling that you have, because you're like, well, there's nothing but happiness. There's no boundaries. There's no restrictions. There's nothing. Like, I'm being allowed to be me. And we're just going on a journey together. Yeah.
I love it. There's that word again. But it's my favorite word. Lovely is actually my favorite word.
Well, see, and that's where I feel like it's diluted in society. But when we say it as individuals, we give it our own meaning, I feel.
Right.
Like, and like we were saying earlier, love is a very individual experience.
Yes.
You know, like,
yeah,
it's a balls to bones experience.
Yeah.
You just
Find something for the ladies.
You just feel it. You don't,
Yeah.
You don't explain it really. It's hard to explain, but I think we've done a pretty good job today, hopefully.
I hope so. I hope so.
But the fact that you use the word, I feel like, well, that's fine. Like, you use it from a place that it comes from in you, and that's fine.
It feels good.
That's right. And so it's a very individual thing.
It is. It is. And I think, do you think we can get to a point in society that we love unconditionally?
Well, the unicorn in me says yes. I think we can. But it's a different thing witnessing it firsthand and witnessing it personally, than being able to witness it and spread it worldwide. And there's so much negativity. I feel it's a real struggle these days. So much negativity in the media and spread worldwide, and people's attitudes are quite negative in general. And one of the things that I find that also comes with unconditional love and you know, feeling that internally, is the ability to still feel that even when things are hard, even when things are bad, even when things aren't going well. Because that is one of the hardest things to do, is to look difficulty in the face, negativity in the face, and still have love. So if we could do that, if we could get somewhere close to that in society, one person at a time, maybe, then I feel like we've got a chance. We've got a chance. But to people listening, I would just say, do what you can in your personal sphere. Do what you can in your universe, you know. Do what you can to be open, be nice, give as much love as you can, even when there's hate.
And just like, I know someone's going to say somewhere down the line, you're like forcing me to, you know, I don't want to hang out with these people, and I don't want to be nice to these people. We're not saying that. You don't even have to talk to these people. Just send them love. You just spent the day, Stevie, I don't know if you ever tried this, but just spending the day, like, just every single person, whether it be even on TV or at the grocery store, or even like videos that you watch, you just, as soon as you see them, you say, I love you, in your head, relax into it, and see how your day goes. It feels really, really good at the end of the day.
It does, actually. I did that once. I did that once. And I try to do it in as many interactions, but as far as like doing it for a whole day, yes, I did it once. And it was really interesting, because this gets me to another question. I don't know how long we've been going for. We probably got, you know, we'll probably go for all day on this one, but the feeling that you get from sharing some of that love, and it doesn't matter who it's with, what situation it's in, but the feeling that we get from sharing that love, and coming from a place of positivity, and not, you know, I want something, or I want to get something from you. No. Just actual love. The feeling that we get is a million times better than when we necessarily get something from somebody else.
Right.
So, you know, it can be even just the smallest thing. But, you know, making somebody smile at the checkout when you go to the supermarket. And that's what you said, you know, like go throughout the day in your head, just saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love everything.
Yeah.
And people do feel that. And so seeing a smile on somebody's face who's like in a very robotic job, you know, and not feeling it, then putting a smile on someone's face, it feels good. It's nice.
It feels really good.
Yeah, you're right. Like going through the day and people, try it, give it a go.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't have
highly recommended.
You don't have to be going around giving people hugs or like standing up on a stool, shouting how much you love the world. No. It's you've just got to feel it and it just, you know, say it to yourself or in your head or whatever.
Yeah.
But it makes a huge difference.
It really does. It really does. So I want to leave everyone with where the word unconditional love came from. So it actually, the ancient Greeks actually came up with it, and they had like 3 or 4 different terms for the word love. So they think that's where we screwed up, was that we didn't take on those different, we didn't make up 4 different words for love. We just lumped it all in together and just said, go figure it out. Go love, but go figure it out.
Go love.
Exactly. You know where I was going with that. So it's actually called agape. And it's what it says is, sorry, I had to write it down so I didn't get it wrong. So agape, which is heart-to-heart love with no strings attached, to yank love back when we don't like what someone has done. So essentially it's because a lot of us are running around with relationships that are love by condition.
Yeah.
Because but the thing is, the conditional part should be conditioning. The condition should be access to you. So the condition for me is, I can still love you, but you've lost access to me.
Right.
That's it. We've got it all wrong. And people are allowed, like we're not obligated to stay with anybody. We're really not. So to get mad and revengeful and just really, really nasty and negative when the relationship doesn't pan out the way we want it to, well, that's on us, because we put a lot of expectation and we just assumed that this other person was going to do what we said. And the thing is, like, how many times have we left relationships and gotten really perturbed by this person being so angry and so vengeful that we left, but yet we've probably done it too. Like, we've probably done it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right, because that's the thing. There are so many people out there right now. I know it. I absolutely know it, that are not happy in their relationships.
Right.
Now, it could be a marriage. It could be just a long-term relationship, something like that. There's a lot of people out there that aren't happy for all of those reasons. Yeah. And just 100% what you said, I would say this, and nobody has to take my advice. Nobody has to take what we say as gospel.
No.
But what I would say is, from personal experience, trust yourself. You know, look deep inside yourself and ask yourself, are you happy? Are you truly happy? And are you happy with who you are? And are you happy then with how you fit into this relationship? And are you actually going on a journey, or are you being steered? Are you being turned in different directions that you don't necessarily deep down want to go? Right. And you can, and I know it's hard, it's so hard, but you can get out of those relationships.
Yes.
Your head will tell you, like we said before, your head will say, this is why you can't, this reason, that reason, that reason, but that's not your voice. Listen to the inner voice deep down that says, this is right or wrong. And once you've figured that out, you can make the decision, you can make the call, and you can do it. You can leave that relationship. Yeah. We're not bound physically by anything, by anyone. No. So yeah, great point that you brought up there about, you know, we can just be ourselves, and we can remove ourselves from those relationships.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go find one that's going to be mutually compatible and is going to help you grow and just, and go
on a journey, like open up.
Yeah.
enjoy each other and go on a really fun journey through life. That's
absolutely
what I would say. Yeah,
absolutely, I agree. Well, thank you so much. Great chat.
Thank you. It's been so much fun. A really exciting topic to talk about. And yeah, thank you.
I feel that we could do this one again, actually. I got a lot of things to say about relationships, so I'm very opinionated when it comes to that.
I feel we could well, I do too. Like there's more that, and there's other topics of this that I could have gone into as well. You know, we could talk about this for days, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us. And our next episode will be on who made the rules and why do we blindly agree with them?
It should be very interesting because we may have a few sheeple that are just walking around there doing a bit of but they blindly follow. And we will be talking about why that happens, how it's set up, and how long ago and how far back it's been happening.
Yes. Very interesting indeed. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for listening and watching. Anything else?
Have a great day.
Yeah, that's it. Have a great day, guys. Bye.